variations. Actually, individual differences refer to unique, relatively stable, and enduring psychological, physical, and behavioral variations. Behaviorical, and distinguish one person from another. These variations, these variations psychological individual difference mean unique individual difference व्यक्तिगत difference कौन अच्छे psychological mental personality attitude physical motor appearance height behavioral environmental learning styles motivations socioeconomic status all kind of differences heredity and genetic factors the difference कहीं कुछ environment nurture family school society and culture other factors age race gender बयस जाति gender लिंग economic status जो understanding these differences is crucial. Psychology for understanding individuality and in education by organization for tailoring approaches to meet specific needs. Understanding these differences is crucial in psychology for understanding. Crucial psychology. ये पांचटा चैप्टर नहीं देखते. Understanding these differences is crucial in psychology for understanding individuality and in education by organization for tailoring approaches to meet specific needs. Psychological mental by intelligence levels, cognitive abilities, aptitude, and emotional quotient. Introversion by extroversion values, interest and temperament. Physical and motor by appearance, height and age, sex and physical abilities. Height, appearance, height जो उच्चता, एज बयस, सेक्स ऐसे पर्सनालिटी देखा साइकोलॉजिकल मेंटल होची इंटेलिजेंस लेवल्स होची कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटीज दिस लेवलटा देखा कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटीज एप्टीट्यूड एंड इमोशनल क्वेश्चन ये सब है डिफरेंस देखा पर्सनालिटी फिजिकल मोटर जो है सेक्स फिजिकल अपीयरेंस हाइट बिहेवियर मोटिवेशन सोशियो इकोनॉमिक कल्चर बैकग्राउंड डिफरेंसेस देखा कहीं हेरिडिटी एनवायरनमेंट school, family, environment, society, culture, other factors, age, race, gender, economic status, heredity ମାନେ ହେଉଛି genetic factors determining innate understanding these differences. Pedagogy of a physical science is the study and practice of a teaching subject. Physical science means study and practice of a teaching subjects like physics, chemistry, pedagogy, physical science. Chemistry focusing on math, biology, physics, chemistry, biology, making abstract principles tangible through inquiry-based method. Practice of a teaching subject like physical chemistry focusing on making abstract principles tangible through inquiry-based method. Real world and real world कौन ये जल्दी पचरे Study or practice have a teaching subject like physics, chemistry, focusing on making extra principle like experiment and real world methods, experiment करिए real world applications. It involves shift from traditional rote memorization to constructive traditional memorization जो मन रखे. It involves shift है जो from traditional memorization to constructivist approach where student actively build करिए their own understanding बुझापना of the natural world blog तापर इन blog core components. Scientific temperament aims to cultivate objectivity, critical thinking, and the power of observation in student. Observation अर्थ होची observe करियो. In student aims and objectives focuses on understanding the nature. Focus करियो on understanding the nature, प्रकृति and scope of physical science. Okay. Aims and objectives focuses on understanding the nature, scope of physical science, acquiring practical skills acquire करियो, and developing a historical perspective. Focuses on understanding the nature and scope of physical science, acquiring practical skills and developing a historical power of observation in student. Focuses on understanding the nature, scope of physical science, acquiring practical skill को acquire करते रहे, developing a historical perspectives of and developing a historical perspective of a scientific evolution. Scientific evolution curriculum construction emphasis principle like nature of scope of physical science, acquiring practical skills and developing a historical perspective develop करियो of scientific evolutions. Curriculum construction emphasizes principle like flexibility, emphasizes बुद्धि करियो flexibility, utility, उपयोगिता and individual differences व्यक्तिगत, ensuring the content is relevant or development and accessible to all learners. बुद्धि करियो principles like flexibility, utility and individual differences, ensuring the content is relevant to modern development and accessible to all learners. Key teaching method of inquiry based learning. Position student as active participant who asks questions. Position student as active participant करिए who asks question पचारिए, formulate hypothesis and conduct experiment conduct करिए, formulate hypothesis to find answers. Emphasis कर learning by doing through hands-on activities and self-discovery, placing the student in the positions of a discoverer. Project method involves many research projects to apply theoretical knowledge to real life situations. Apply करिए inductive and deductive approaches in theoretical knowledge to real life situation. Many research project field work or library work to apply theoretical knowledge. Inductive proceeding from specific observation to general principles. General principle discovery oriented. Deductive moving from general rules to specific examples. Digital and modern pedagogy which integration of ICT tools. Digital and modern pedagogy which integration of ICT tools, virtual laboratories, and simulation to visualize complex phenomena such as energy transformation of or chemical reactions of pedagogical shift in modern science education as recommended by frameworks like NCERT emphasizes shift from teacher-centered to learner-centered flexible processes. The teacher acts as a facilitator who nurtures curiosity and support a diverse learning style rather than being the sole source of knowledge. ଭୌତିକ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଶିକ୍ଷାଦାନ ହେଉଛି ପଦାର୍ଥ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଅଭ୍ୟାସ ଅନୁସନ୍ଧାନ ଆଧାରିତ ପଦ୍ଧତି ପରୀକ୍ଷଣ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟ ବାସ୍ତବ ବିଶ୍ୱ ପ୍ରୟୋଗ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ଏଥିରେ ପାରମ୍ପରିକ ରୋଟ ସ୍ମୃତିକରଣର ଏକ ଗଠନମୂଳକ ପଦ୍ଧତିକୁ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ମୂଳ ଉପାଦାନ ଓ ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ମନ ହେବ ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରେ ବସ୍ତୁନିଷ୍ଠତା ସମାଲୋଚନାମୂଳକ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା କ୍ରିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କିଂ ଆଣ୍ଡ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟବେକ୍ଷଣ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟେସନ ଶକ୍ତି ଲକ୍ଷ୍ୟ ଏବଂ ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ ଏମ୍ ଆଉ ପ୍ରପୋଜ ଭୌତିକ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ପ୍ରକୃତି ଏବଂ ପରିସରକୁ ବୁଝିବା ବ୍ୟବହାରିକ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟେସନ ଦକ୍ଷତା ସ୍କିଲ୍ ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ବିବର୍ତ୍ତନର ଏକ ଐତିହାସିକ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିକୋଣ ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକ ପାଠ୍ୟକ୍ରମ ନିର୍ମାଣ ନମନୀୟତା ଉପଯୋଗିତା ପାଠ୍ୟକ୍ରମ ନିର୍ମାଣ ଓ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତିଗତ ପାର୍ଥକ୍ୟ ଭଳି ନୀତିଗୁଡ଼ିକୁ ଗୁରୁତ୍ୱ ଦିଏ ନମନୀୟତା ଉପଯୋଗିତା ୟୁଟିଲିଟି ବିଷୟବସ୍ତୁ ଆଧୁନିକ ବିକାଶ ସହିତ ପ୍ରାସଙ୍ଗିକ ଏବଂ ସମସ୍ତ ଶିକ୍ଷାର୍ଥୀମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସୁଗମ କରିବ ପ୍ରକୃତି ଭୌତିକ ଫିଜିକାଲ ସାଇନ୍ସ ଭୌତିକ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଫିଜିକାଲ ଅର୍ଥ ଭୌତିକ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ପରିସରକୁ ବୁଝିବା ବ୍ୟବହାରିକ ଦକ୍ଷତା ହାସଲ କରିବା ଫିଜିକ୍ସକୁ ଦକ୍ଷତା ହାସଲ କରିବା ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ବିବର୍ତ୍ତନର ଇଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ ଏକ ଐତିହାସିକ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିକୋଣ ହିଷ୍ଟୋରିକାଲ ସିଗ୍ନିଫିକାନ୍ସ ବିକାଶ କରିବା ବୈଜ୍ଞାନିକ ମନୋଭାବ ସାଇଣ୍ଟିଫିକ ଟେମ୍ପରାମେଣ୍ଟ ଛାତ୍ରଛାତ୍ରୀମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରେ ବସ୍ତୁନିଷ୍ଠତା ଅବଜେକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ସମାଲୋଚନାମୂଳକ କ୍ରିଟିକାଲ ଥିଙ୍କିଂ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟବେକ୍ଷଣ ଶକ୍ତି ବିକଶିତ କରେ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟବେକ୍ଷଣ ଶକ୍ତି ଭୌତିକ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଶିକ୍ଷାଦାନ ହେଉଛି ପଦାର୍ଥ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଏବଂ ରସାୟନ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ଏଭଳି ବିଷୟଗୁଡ଼ିକର ଅଧ୍ୟୟନ ଏବଂ ଅଭ୍ୟାସ ଯାହା ଅନୁସନ୍ଧାନ ଆଧାରିତ ପଦ୍ଧତି ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ ବେସିକ ଅନୁସନ୍ଧାନ ପରୀକ୍ଷଣ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟେସନ୍ସ ଏବଂ ବାସ୍ତବ ବିଶ୍ୱ ପ୍ରୟୋଗ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ସାରକ ତତ୍ତ୍ୱଗୁଡ଼ିକୁ ମୂର୍ତ୍ତ କରିବା ଉପରେ ଧ୍ୟାନ ଦେଇଥାଏ ଏଥିରେ ପାରମ୍ପରିକ ରୋଟ ସ୍ମୃତିକରଣର ଏକ ଗଠନମୂଳକ ପଦ୍ଧତିକୁ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ଅନ୍ତର୍ଭୁକ୍ତ ଏଥିରେ ପାରମ୍ପରିକ ରୋଟ ସ୍ମୃତିକରଣରୁ ଫିଜିକାଲ ସାଇନ୍ସର ଶିକ୍ଷାଦାନ ହେଉଛି ପଦାର୍ଥ ବିଜ୍ଞାନ ବାସ୍ତବ ବିଶ୍ୱ ପ୍ରୟୋଗ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ବାସ୍ତବ ବିଶ୍ୱ ରିଅଲ ୱାର୍ଲଡ ଏକ୍ସପେରିମେଣ୍ଟ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ସାରକ ତତ୍ତ୍ୱଗୁଡ଼ିକୁ ମୂର୍ତ୍ତ କରିବାକୁ ଧ୍ୟାନ ଦେଇଥାଏ social studies no development of physical science as a school subject journeying from natural philosophy for elite to foundational curriculum development of physical science as a school subject physical science ta is a journeying from natural philosophy for elite to natural ପ୍ରାକୃତିକ philosophy ଦର୍ଶନ for elite to a foundational curriculum for all students फिजिकल साइंस टा थिला कोन स्कूल सब्जेक्ट इज जर्निंग फ्रॉम नेचुरल फिलोसफी कोन फॉर द इलाइट धनिक गोष्ठी टू फाउंडेशनल करिकुलम फॉर ऑल स्टूडेंट फाउंडेशनल द मौलिक करिकुलम फॉर ऑल स्टूडेंट मान पे इट इज एमर्ज फ्रॉम द नीड टू ब्रिज द गैप बिटवीन Bridge the gap between pure mathematics and practical realities of the industrial world. Industrial ମାନେ ହେଉଛି it emerges from need to bridge the gap between gap को bridge करियो जोड़िबो pure mathematics and practical realities of the industrial world. The era of natural philosophy was before the term physical science was popularized. Natural philosophy, physical science was the popularized study of a non-living world. Was known as natural philosophy. Before the term physical science was the popularized study of a non-living world. ମାନେ was known as natural philosophy. Natural प्राकृतिक philosophy. The study of a non-living world. ମୃତ ପୃଥିବୀ was known as natural philosophy ତାକୁ କହନ୍ତି। Non-living world was known ତାକୁ natural philosophy କହନ୍ତି। Instruction style it was largely theoretical and descriptive. Theoretical ଥିଲା descriptive ଥିଲା focus on the observing focus କରୁଥିଲା observing the law of nature ପ୍ରକୃତିର law it was largely theoretical ଥିଲା descriptive ଥିଲା access high level science was primarily taught in universities ରେ secondary school ରେ it was often restricted to applied mechanics for trade workers basic astronomy and physics for the wealthy ଆସ୍ତେ ଆସ୍ତେ it was largely theoretical ଥିଲା descriptive ଥିଲା law of nature the pragmatic statement the 19th century the closed the committee of 10 science be the core part of the high school experience setting the stage for standardized curriculum rise of a general science by the early 20th century educators realized that jumping straight into complex physics or chemistry was too difficult for younger students को ପାଇଁ educators realized that jumping straight into complex physics was too difficult ଥିଲା jumping straight into complex physics or chemistry physics or chemistry was too difficult ଥିଲା କଷ୍ଟ ଥିଲା for younger student ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ by the early 20th century educators realized that jumping straight into complex physics educators realized that jumping straight into complex physics chemistry was too difficult for younger students for younger student ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ straight into complex physics or chemistry was too difficult 20th century ଥିଲା integrated approach when physical science was developed as a survey course ପାଇଁ physics chemistry astronomy and art science ଥିଲା geology practicality the focus was on science for living students studied how steam engine worked the chemistry of cooking ରୋଷେଇ କରିବ and mechanics of household appliances standardization ମାନେ textbook publishers began consolidating these topics into single physical science textbook publishers began consolidating these topics and then for the 8th and 9th grade as biology and chemistry textbook publishers began consolidating these topics into a single physical science volume of internet for 8th 9th grade as a prerequisite for specialized biology or chemistry टेक्स्ट बुक पब्लिशर्स began consolidating these topics को कंसोलिडेट करती फिजिकल साइंस वॉल्यूम इंटेंड टू 8 9 ग्रेड एज प्रीरिक्विजिट द स्पुटनिक इफेक्ट एंड रिगोर द लॉन्च ऑफ स्पुटनिक होची फ्रॉम प्रैक्टिकल टू थ्योरेटिकल द इजी डिस्क्रिप्टिव साइंस इन द 1940 was replaced by the more rigorous math heavily approach government funding in the US the National Science Foundations funded programs like the Physical Science Study Committee. Lab-based learning meant the subject moved away from rote memorizations towards the laboratory method. Students were no longer just told how gravity worked. Lab-based learning meant the subject moved away from rote memorization towards the laboratory method. Interdisciplinary modern physical science has evolved to less about inquiry method. Current curricula emphasizes the scientific method. Students formulate hypotheses, conduct experiment and analyze data. Experiment conduct करती STEM integration में physical science is now the STEM science, technology, engineering and math. Theoretical lessons. Biological, cognitive, behavioral, psychosocial use.